Welcome back to Uncaged Leaders. I'm Mariquita Solis, the Uncaged Heart Coach. And I'm excited about our conversation today because our conversations are geared to help the man who has everything on the outside, but is really struggling with that emptiness of soul that doesn't have what he needs in his life to feel complete and doesn't even know how to get it. So that's what these conversations are about. So today I'm joined by my good friend John Vautour. He is a leader at Unity North, and he is also an energetic healer. So we're going to learn a lot of wisdom today and how we can really connect to this quantum field to help heal. Um, and, and, and this is something that we don't always explore. So welcome, John. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm excited to talk with you.
Well, I'm excited too. So, John, let's start with your childhood growing up. A lot of times little boys struggle in their home. What was your childhood like?
I had a great childhood. My parents were great role models. I grew up in the church, and I had a great experience with that. Um, my mother was going to become a nun before, obviously, she changed her mind and got married and then had 5 kids. Uh, so, but yeah, it was great. And I think you learn a lot about what's going on with your siblings. And then I think you learn a lot what's going on by watching your parents. And I was the baby in the family, so I observed a lot. So,
What did you observe about being a man? What were you taught? I mean, but there's so many. I mean, society's teaching you one thing, maybe your brothers or sisters, all the families teaching you, and school kids. What did you learn when you were a little boy about what a man is?
well, I think I used my father as a role model in that, and he grew up on a farm, so he had a tremendous work ethic, um, and of course, uh, you know, taking care of 5 kids was a tremendous, burden, I'm sure, on him. Um, he was a great provider, but he worked a lot. And so I learned from him that, um, yeah, I mean, if you take care of your family, I think as a man that you have the sense of being a provider. Um, and, I never heard him complain about any of those particular things he was doing. He had 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs. I mean, he finished his day shift job and he went right into a second shift job. And it was in the area in which we live. There were factories. It was a town where they had furniture factories, and so yeah, he worked at 2 different companies uh, to try to provide for the family, and he instilled that in me, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's a wonderful thing. Um, but he also, uh, like anything, like all of us, um, someone that's working all the time, becomes frustrated very easily. And so, I also was a little bit of a little afraid of him because, you didn't want to upset him or so. I think we grew up a lot of, not really just keeping to ourselves, not really speaking our minds like we should. Um, and just as any child would, you want to gain acceptance from your parents. You want to please them. You think by pleasing them, that's going to make them love you more. And it's just a part of that. But he also had a soft side as well. I remember one time when I was 10 years old, um, I always used to kiss my parents goodnight, you know, before going to bed. And I asked them, I said, hey, uh, when's the last time I kiss you goodnight? Because I don't know when the age I'm going to be when I become a man. And he said, well, I don't know what age that is, but it's going to make me very sad when that time comes. So, um, yeah, so he had us offside too. He definitely, uh, he gave us affection, and so that was a good thing. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's sweet. When was the age?
Well, I said, I think I'm going to stop. I'm 10 years old. I think I'm going to stop. And he said, well, that's going to make me really sad, you know. But
That
that was
makes me sad.
something that I thought
Hmm.
at 10 years old that, hey, I'm 10, I'm going to be, starting into the double digits, you know. So I just had that in my mind as a kid that, hey, to become a man, I have to stop being affectionate, right? Um, and I was uh, because I'm a lot in my healing work. I'm an empath. I do feel a lot. I think I was an over emotional child, um, and so I always felt like that was a little um, not accepted. And I think, it's just, um, you know, the the boys don't cry, in baseball or whatever mentality. So all these, uh, thoughts that the world is putting out, I think as men, we're taking that on, that we need to be strong. We can't show our emotions. And so that tends for us to kind of just hold those things in. And as a healer, I can tell you it starts to affect you either physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you know, um, and it's going to catch up with you at some point, you know. And I think you see that, and sometimes when people have, overly active aggression or, overly active anger, uh, I see that, uh, a lot in my practice.
Do you have
So
men coming to you and saying, I don't know what it is, or I don't know, that, and that you're able to see that it's these emotions that have been pushed down, or
I I had most of the men when they first come to see me, they're very quiet, and it's it's hard for a man to it's very, for me personally, it's very easy for me to take a feeling that I have, or that's happened because of a certain circumstance, and just put that away, and then move forward from it. Um, and but I got to say, that's not very healthy for anyone. I think as humans, we're meant to, we were given these feelings or emotions for a reason, and it's part of what we're living for. You know, it's part of the experience. I just don't think, like a lot of subjects, uh, they didn't teach you this in school. That you need to feel. It's okay to have a feeling about something, and actually feel it, and that's how you actually process your feelings. So stuffing them down, just creates a blockage in your energy field, and you, at some point, that layered over layer is going to cause some kind of uh, disturbance, and either you having a disease from it, or perhaps affect the relationship in which you have. Um, and and I really, the greatest thing about this, Mariquita, is that I think it's really none of our faults. It's not my father's fault. It's not his father's fault. It's just something you have to go through and have the awareness of, hey, something's not right, you know. And I think I have a lot of clients, men that are clients, that come to me that are just as unsure about themselves because of the hard line that they're taught that they should hold, right? And unfortunately, that uh, that's not healthy. It's not healthy for us at all. Um,
And how do you clear that? And what does that look like or feel like? I mean, I know it's not, I mean, maybe you can see it. So, I mean, what are you sensing when there's a man with this tight energy of these feelings layered on top that have been suppressed for years? What is that? What is the sensation that you receive, and how do you release that?
so someone might come to me and then say, I have a certain pain in a certain area, or there's some kind of issue they're dealing with that they can't get over. And how I approach that is I look at their energy centers. So they have uh, energy centers, which are called chakras, and those particular centers need to flow freely in order for us to, for our bodies to uh, be healing itself at a constant. Our bodies are constantly healing themselves, so that those centers are there to flow energy, and in those flow, and if there's blockages in those certain areas, um, then those particular areas tell me there may be some kind of emotion that the person is dealing with. For me, it's different. I don't really get into the particular reason or circumstance. I just look at the emotion behind it, and that's what I feel as I'm doing my work. And then we may talk about that emotion, or it might be given some guidance towards releasing that emotion, and by doing that, this clears the blockage from the body, now allowing the energy field to sustain its movement, and so self-healing occurs, and they're able to move on from that particular issue that they were dealing with. And it may be physical, it may be emotional, or it may be spiritual, and all three of those things are tied together. In other words, if you could imagine, when you see a cable, a cable isn't just one cable, it's cables wrapped around each other. Usually three are together, or sometimes four, and they're twisted together. They're touching each other at all times. It's the same in the body. That physical, emotional, and spiritual sides are all tied to the same type of energy that's within your body. So yeah, and if someone's dealing with something that's very emotional, there are chakras, like there's a chakra called the solar plexus, which is right there at your stomach, abdomen region, and you yeah, I'll feel that when I'm standing in front of somebody, and then I usually feel the emotion behind what the blockage is, and I'll work on that energetically. I'll also talk with the person to try to see how how that there may be some kind of issue going on in his life at that particular time. Or it could be something in his past, or something that could be coming up in the future. And I try to touch on all of that. So,
Right. That makes so much sense, definitely, about the different cables, and because we're so complex,
yeah,
and that it's a struggle when a man really is living out of alignment with their values, and that can cause a lot of damage, and not knowing. I mean, if society's pulling you one way and you're trying to live in your beliefs, but and then that can cause that buildup, and then that's an energy field outside of ourselves that we're putting on other people.
right, right. Yeah, and so we have all these experiences that validate some of the feelings that we have, or some people may even call them a pressure of what's going on, and then uh, we're not allowing ourselves to feel the feelings around the particular issue, and so it's not allowing you to actually see it in the right light, right? Not only in the right light, but in your right light, in your truth, right? um you're everybody's unique in how their makeup is, and that's true about your I like to call it your soul signature. um what's that's all about? That's about what's your truth, right? What's your true nature? We all have this. One of the great things of doing what I do is I've been able to not only feel, I can see energy. And one thing that's common in all of us is that there is this energetic white light that goes from basically the ground that you stand on through your body up to the heavens above, right? Up to your crown chakra. And that light is our energy goes back and forth, almost like a snake, on each side of that white light. And that white light, the great thing in this, I like to tell the story because it's the story for me. It's the story of hope. That white light is always drawing that energetic snake on each side. It's always drawing it closer to that white light. And so some people might call that white light the great universe, source, God, God within us. Anyway, that white light is always drawing us towards it. So even when something happens, when you may be going through something and that snake spikes over to the right, there's always something that's going to draw you back towards that white light. So it's a force of good and of hope and of love. That's how I look at it.
Well, that makes sense because that is our natural state. I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
me, living in alignment with who we are and to live in integrity with this planet. So when we deviate from that, then I could see that nature would be trying to pull us back. And no matter how much we fight it, that's the internal war inside. And that's when you get the illness comes and the depression and the loneliness and isolation.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people confuse um, there's differences between emotion. For me, there's differences between emotion and feeling, because there's that feeling around a certain experience that you have, uh, and and we usually tie those feelings to the experience, and we don't separate those things. We're not allowing ourselves to see the and feel the emotion, so that we gain a greater perspective on the experience of it. So yeah, there's great exercises out there to try to help you um, separate the feeling that you're feeling from an experience, and then feel that feeling in its entirety. And you can feel, sometimes you feel it, and how maybe traumatic or volatile the experience may be, um, may determine how much of the feeling you have to feel first to separate it from the experience, and then you release that feeling. And here's an example: you might feel anger towards something, and you feel that particular thing, anger, and then it may dissipate to maybe frustration, and then you let that allow that feeling to go throughout your whole body. And then what you do is then you go back and look at the experience without the feeling, and almost at all times you will not feel the same. You will not feel the same way, or not have the same uh, perspective on that experience in which you experienced. um, we're just I don't think that we're taught that feelings are okay, and it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be sad. Um, it's okay to cry. These are actually healthy things. And we need to allow ourselves to feel those particular things, and I think it's that switch outside of us that's, like I said, it's generational, it's cultural, it's coming from a lot of different areas or facets of everyone's life, uh, and we just need to have the awareness that, hey, this is not a part of your true self, right? Not a part of you being aligned in who you are. And so I think things are changing. I think things are changing as far as generations to come up. I see it. I have a, you know, uh, great hope that things are going in the right direction as far as this is concerned. And I see, and you know this today, you probably see parents today are not acting like parents of like their parents. I think the greatest thing is to see that that you have, uh, you what do you like about yourself, and what do you don't like, and look at those things that you don't like, and see what they need, see what you need to do to help rid that from uh, how you want to live your life, how you want to write your book, you know, um, instead of continuing a pattern that may be, uh, you know, from, 3 or 4 generations before you, you know. Um, and I think that's happening. I think that's happening today.
Yeah, I have hope that we are changing, the society's changing and allowing all emotions and all energy. So what about a man that, and I've talked to many men about this, and in the anonymous surveys, they'll say that they can't distinguish between feelings, and some will say that they don't have any feelings. What would you say to those men?
Uh, I would say those men are pretty. They've they've stuffed their boxes full, and that's how I looked at it, because that's how I experienced it. When something, you experience something, you have a bad feeling about something, and you don't want to deal with it, you put it in, you stuff that box in the back, and let it sit there. It's something that uh, we're taught as men to do that, because we're taught from an early age that we're not supposed to show our emotions, and I think that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, and you talk about people that have been doing this for a long period of time. Um, they're almost, I would compare them to an onion. They have layers and layers of boxing this, um, these things out. It's not only men, it's women as well. And one of the fields that I have worked with several clients that are nurses, and because they're around people that that they help, and then they may pass, they've had to kind of, uh, they either take a a road of, hey, I'm not going to be personable or get close to this person, right? Or they've they've just layered themselves so they don't have that feeling of, losing someone. These are normal energetic patterns that happen within our lives. Um, you know, it's the same with relationships. You have things that happen that are very loving, and we feel that bliss of when we first fall in love, and then something may happen in a relationship that causes it to go a different way, and it's still, it's, to me, both things are healthy. In other words, there isn't there's always going to be a good or a bad sign. It's what you do with it. How do you balance both sets of emotions, right? Because I believe each person, that's part of free will, that we all have the choice on how we balance this, good versus bad, love versus fear. Um, we're the fulcrum, so we decide which side is going to weigh more, by which side are we feeding, more. Are we feeding more about, like love? Is our glass half full, or is it half empty? Um, that's the balance. Both love and fear to me are very normal things. People are like, "Oh, fear is not good." It's a part of who we are. It's a part of our experience in life, and um, this. There's no straight way to a good life. It's more like a roller coaster. Uh, you know,
It is
that's
like a roller coaster.
it is. It
But
is.
that's better than being boring. Who wants a
Uh,
boring, flat life? Not
well,
me.
that's the thing. And a lot of people get hurt, and then they don't want to feel those feelings, so they shut off. You know, people, they shut off relationships,
Hmm.
not to feel those particular um, feelings, because of what they experience, because they experience hurt. But hurt is a part of love, and um, yeah, I would love to say that love is only bliss, but it's not. There's a lot of heartache in it, and you see that um, when you, especially when you lose a loved one, um, you see how valuable love is, and the grief that you feel from that person departing your life. It's such a valuable asset, and it's something we need. We're not here to do this alone. We're here to be open, and with and do it together. We're not here to live our lives alone.
Well,
We're
that
here
is
to.
one thing that men, I mean, that men are value. I mean, that men are encouraged to do, to be independent, and women too. I don't need anyone. Like, I don't need a man. I can do it all. I can make the money, and then the men, they can do it all too. That we're independent. We don't need you to help us, right? I don't need your emotional support because I'm going to put up these walls and I'm going to, shut down my heart. And how debilitate? How do we even have relationships like that?
Yeah, it's to me, it whether you're a man or a woman, there's I think you're going to be going through these particular trials of yeah, you may feel hurt and you may need to find that independent or independence within yourself. Um, these are these are lessons. These are part of your life lessons, and but you also have to look at why are you doing the particular thing you're doing? Is it because you're leading yourself in a direction to improve who you are, or is it, or are you living in fear of being hurt? And yeah, I think you have to evaluate and look at, hey, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for, for my truth or for the good of who I am? Is this, of where I'm going to be going? Or am I doing this out of fear so that I don't have to feel a certain emotion? I'm in, and I think the latter is, I think it's always good to kind of look back at yourself and see if, why are you doing, questioning yourself, why are you doing particular things? Are you trying to improve your life? Are you looking at the things that really get under your skin, or the things that really tend to bother you in life, and are you working towards eliminating some of those, or finding the right perspective on those particular things in your life? Or are you working to kind of put yourself in a comfort zone so you don't have to feel those particular things? I think a lot of people going through life are afraid um, to look at themselves. They tend to live their lives outside of themselves, right? Where they look for things outside of themselves to please themselves, right? Because they're afraid to look at what's going on inside, and either, I don't judge either way. I feel like, I understand the reasoning behind all of this. One of the things that I know is that every circumstance is different, and everybody is unique. And however things happen in your life, it could be from an experience you had in your childhood. It could be something that you're going through today. It's something that you need to work with, and um, and that's why I don't really look at the circumstances around things, because that brings judgment around it. And I don't want, I don't believe in that. I think everyone is going through whatever they need to go through. And because I know I've gone through things, and and people can say things about other people, and they just don't know the circumstances behind what's going on with that person. And I think we need to be careful about that, you know.
Yeah, it's very true because someone who's really shut down, I mean, they could be coming from a home that was abusive and that was the only way. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and that is a wonderful coping strategy as a child or, and when you were in that situation. But then if it's debilitating your life, later on. And yes, I mean, you being an empath and I'm an empath too, having that compassion to help these that people that are really struggling with these wounds and living in fear and isolation is just the worst, and just that emptiness of life. It's very sad to see. So I mean, we've all been through hell in our lives, and the main thing is to be able to have compassion for others, and to, I mean, this is part of life, is living in fear, and I mean, that's just part of it. We all live in fear
Mm.
sometimes, but
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
right. So
Yeah.
yeah. So what would a man do? I mean, if there was a man that was, wanting to start working on himself, I mean, how do you connect to that soul, or maybe that heart that's been shut down for years?
Yeah, I think you can do it through a lot of different avenues, and I think if the mere acknowledgement of trying to change, to me, sparks the energy needed to look at what's going on, and facilitates that change to come about, right? So the mere having the awareness that, hey, I this is going on in my life, and I really, I need to do something about it, is the first step in all of this. And then through different mediums like uh, meditation, or yoga, or different, all these different ways to connect with yourself, your body, and yeah, just be able to just self evaluate, or um, the one of the things they say is quiet yourself, right? Or quiet your mind, and then you'll be able to see those particular things you want to work on. And for me, what's helped me is actually setting the intention uh, to for any particular thing. Um, like one of the things that I was working on was setting the intention, because I had a lot of anger. Um, I was getting frustrated, and just because I was doing a lot of stuff that my dad was doing. He was working a lot, and I was working a lot too when I was a parent, and I just felt like I didn't like the anger that I had, and so I set the intention to make myself, aware of, and prayed and said, hey, listen, I want the awareness around anger. Anytime that I have anger, I want to see it full frontal, see it right in front of my face, so I can try to work on, eliminating this, or not eliminating it, but helping the repetitiveness of it, right? And and it works. It works. Set the intention, and for me, holy cow! I mean, it becomes front and center, uh, and yeah, you'll have the awareness of it, and then just meditating on that, and asking for help, asking your guides, however, whatever medium that you use, asking the universe, asking source, asking God, um, whatever works for you, spiritually. And then, but I think when you set the intention to move towards this, and I've seen this, when you set the intention to move towards your truth, or that center light that we talked about earlier.
Mm.
I think you're um, you're fully supported in that, and you will get the necessary guidance to move towards that. They say, uh, you know, do what you're passionate about, and you'll never be sick for the rest of your life, right? And I truly believe that do work towards putting work towards your truth, and and centering the things in your life, and becoming more present in the world instead of living in what is in the past, or worrying about what's coming up in the future. Just working on those particular things. And to me, anytime you do that, it sets a spark. I've seen it, physically seen it, where it sets a spark of energy that loves, that's all about love in that particular intention. So it works. I've seen it. I've experienced it.
I believe you. And you're talking about living in the now, like Eckhart Tolle talks about
Yeah.
in this moment. And also, I mean, the weight of shutting down emotions and feelings, or I mean, feelings, the weight of this denying who you are, let's just say, denying that energies, is so heavy. And if you took that energy that you're using to push all this stuff away and you used it to elevate yourself, I mean, you have a tremendous amount of energy holding this stuff down all the time. It's exhausting to hold this down. And if you use that to elevate yourself, look where you would be. I mean, so there is hope here. And it, I've been in that situation where I just was like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't know who I am. I'm laying on the bed. I was laying on my bed just thinking, I don't know what to do anymore. And my first step was the book Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. And after I started reading that's when it all opened up. That was just the start. And then more and more things opened up. And like you said, I opened up the door to the light that I had shut on my heart. So yes, it all, the universe was supporting me once I was ready for it. So, and that's why, some people say, and I believe it, there are no mistakes in life. I mean, we fall off course, but like you said, life is not it's not linear. Of course, there are going to be turns, and of course, we're going to fall down and make wrong turns, but that's okay because if we had just a flat, boring life, I mean, what would be the point of that? I don't know.
It's the same as a baby starting to walk. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fall many times. And that's the whole experience of life. You gotta get back up, and you might have a few bruises along the way, or scars, but that doesn't stop you. I think the biggest thing is people just we. I think our bodies are have the essence of the will to live. Once we come into this world, you're physically, your body wants to live. um, and I think it's very telling that's one of the circumstances that you moved into a certain area or an experience that you're having, and you want to, your body wants to live through this. And how, what that is that um, we worry about things, or we focus on things that are in that negative pattern, and they just become a recording of what's going on. And like you said, if we just were able to alleviate that, and because that's part of our past, if we could just alleviate that and be more present in what we're doing, then that worry, right, or experience doesn't feed our future fears, so that we're able to have some kind of peace moving through this life, and that's the whole point, is that you have to move through it, right? Anything that you're experiencing, you've got to move through it, whether it's a something that's not favorable or something that is favorable. You're moving through it, and we have that resilience instilled in us to move through those particular times. It's I think people are, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, but yet they have that pattern of saying that, but yet they're getting through. They can do it because they're getting through it, and they're going through it, right? Um, it's just having the awareness of what's going on. I think a lot of the being present is, observing your life. And that's part of meditation as well. Observing, you're trying to quiet your mind, but you have to observe what your mind is thinking first and see, I remember this one meditation I did. It was to observe your mind. And I was like just flabbergasted at how my mind was just going from one thing to the other thing, where and none of them connected. It wasn't a pattern. And so um, I think it's a wonderful thing, but I think you can quiet that, and and still what's necessary for you to move forward, and and whatever you need to work on yourself. I think that the most important part is it's easy to love other people, but for us it's harder to pour that love into us, and we're our hardest critics, and it's terrible what we do to ourselves, you know. And I think if you can have that awareness, life can be a lot lighter. Um, you know, I often tell people um, that if you can just look at some of the experiences you've had in life, and then see how they worked out, and you also see in hindsight how it's worked out, uh, then you're like, oh wow, if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't have had that experience, and everything I was worried about worked out anyway. So a lot of your worry never comes true, anyways. I would say, 90% of the time, even higher than that, the things that you worry about that's going to happen, which takes a tremendous toll on your energy, and people are, you hear it today in all these TikTok videos, are you going through exhaustion? Are you going through, well, I think a lot of that is put on by ourselves, right? Um, and sure, it affects your health, right? So to try to alleviate some of that would just be a wonderful thing for all of us, you know. we'd have much more energy moving forward, you
That's
know.
true.
Mm.
We're roping ourselves down.
But
So
and we're all looking for that special pill to give us that. Well, that pill is you, and the pill is you working on yourself, and doing whatever that takes. You know, work with a lot of guys that love hunting, love going out in nature and things like that, and fishing and things like that. They I think for men they love those periods of times because they're quiet times,
mm,
and it's a chance for them to be quiet in nature, and I often think that that's uh, a wonderful thing. I think we need those times where we can be with ourselves, right?
yeah, I see that. Yeah, because certain times they're not allowed unless like, men hugging at football. I mean, that's okay. But or men showing, and then the going hunting or what, being in nature, that's okay then, but then but to be able to be free, expressive, to be able to express and be,
Yeah,
in any a situation is the beauty of it. And I love what you're recommending about the quiet and the meditation, and because of the light that's in you that is wanting, that is working on you.
absolutely. It's working on you, whether you believe that or not. I see it. I've been blessed to see it, and yeah, it's a force that's within all of us, and that's the beauty because it's the same for all of us. Um, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, John. So tell us now, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, do you do online? Are you virtual, or do you work with people?
I do online,
Mhm.
and I do remote healings. I also have an office uh, in Woodstock, Georgia, so they can get in touch with me through email at jvautour@gmail.com, or they can get in touch through my office at the strangechiropractic.com.
Okay, and that'll be in the description too, your links. So,
Great.
wow, and
I
there's
can't
just
believe it's already an hour's gone by.
I know.
It's crazy.
It is
Yeah,
crazy. I
yeah,
know it's amazing. I know that energy field, I mean that light, that's what's been moving us in this hour. So
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
What
I'm
a
very
great
grateful.
conversation.
Thank you for coming on here.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I enjoyed it, and thank you for what you're doing to help men, and not only men, but like all of humanity. So it's a wonderful thing. Keep doing, keep shining.
Well, thank you. And thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you.